Through the mist each 7 years, the Isle of Hy Brasil shimmers into view, a dark shape rising from the waves of the Atlantic, half-glimpsed and unreachable, waiting for something to become. A promised land, a fairy world, a den of thieves, a barren rock, the home of angels, aliens, and misplaced spirits. A lost island is a blank canvas, an empty notebook, a formless ball of clay. A lost island is 1,000 things, on 1,000 different days. About 8 miles east of the town of Ipswich lies a large stretch of woodland known as Rendlesham Forest. It is owned by the Forestry Commission and is open to the public. Nearby are 2 NATO air bases, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. The forest contains areas of heathland and wetland, and various paths and walkways twist and turn amongst the trees. At the beginning of one of these paths stands a large metal board in the shape of a triangle. There is nothing especially remarkable about Rendlesham Forest until you realise that the board marks the entrance to the forest's UFO trail. At about 3 a.m. on the morning of December the 26th, 1980, strange lights were spotted in the sky not far from RAF Woodbridge. They were noticed by a security patrol who reported that they were descending into the forest nearby. Initially, the lights were thought to belong to a downed aircraft, and a patrol was ordered to enter the forest in order to find it. Accounts of what happened next are somewhat conflicted, but the basic events are as follows. 3 men, Airman First Class John Burrows, Airman Edward Cabansag, and Staff Sergeant Jim Penniston, entered the forest and encountered a mysterious light in the distance. They watched it moving amongst the trees. The colour of the light seemed to change from red to blue. 2 of the men, Penniston and Burrows, moved nearer to the light and saw that it came from a large craft that was mounted on a tripod. Each time they moved towards the craft, it rose from the ground and moved away from them. It remained at a distance of about 50 feet. 2 days later, the men returned to the forest, this time in the company of Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, the base's deputy commander. They found strange marks on the ground where Penniston and Burrows had seen the mysterious craft, and logged unusual amounts of background radiation in the area. They also saw a strange light moving through the trees. On both occasions, the men reported noises in the forest, strange noises, like a woman screaming. They also noted that the animals in a nearby farm were unusually disturbed. An official report of the encounter was logged by the Ministry of Defence 2 weeks later. In 1983, the story came to the attention of the national press, and since then it has become one of the world's most famous UFO encounters. The men involved in the incident have been interviewed numerous times by numerous people. 2 of the men, John Burrows and Jim Penniston, still claim to this day that they encountered something strange in Rendlesham Forest. Penniston in particular is insistent that he saw a metallic craft amongst the trees. Under hypnosis in the 1990s, he recalled further details of the encounter. In this account, he actually touched the surface of the craft. It was made of a black metallic substance and was etched all over with peculiar marks and symbols. On touching the craft, he claims a message was transmitted into his mind, a mysterious sequence of 1s and 0s, which he wrote out on the pages of a small notebook. The code covered 16 pages of the book. Many years later, the notebook came to light, whilst Burrows was taking part in a TV documentary. One of the other interviewees suggested that the sequence of 1s and 0s looked like binary, a machine code designed for a computer to interpret. The TV researchers ran the code through a computer program and learned that part of it contained a message written in ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. The message reads as follows: Exploration of Humanity 6668100 52.094 253 2N 13 131 269 W. Continuous for planetary advan. 4th coordinate. Continue. OT UQS CBPR. Before. The second string of numbers on the message is a series of coordinates. They point to a spot in the Atlantic Ocean, a few miles off the southwest coast of Ireland. It is the same area that is reputed to contain the mysterious island of Hy Brasil. Many stories about the island suggest that it was once home to a super race of advanced beings who flew through the air using magical chariots. The island was filled with giant cattle, and those who lived there were never short of food. These beings sound like creatures from folklore and mythology, but their powers could have another explanation. A spaceship or even an aeroplane could be seen as a magical chariot, whilst modern farming methods mean that harvests are more abundant today than they were 2,000 years ago. Were these super beings on Hy Brasil the gods of Celtic mythology? Or were they perhaps, as Jim Penniston believes, a race of ancient... Were these super beings on Hy Brasil the gods of Celtic mythology? Or were they perhaps, as Jim Penniston believes, a race of ancient astronauts, travellers from the future who visited us at the dawn of time and are watching over us even now? And so the story ends and the island disappears, vanishing into the mist once more, until the fog clears once again and we glimpse it in a different form. A lost island is a blank canvas, an empty notebook, a formless ball of clay. A lost island is 1,000 things, on 1,000 different days. The fog will be clearing once again at the Howard Assembly Room in February and March 2014.